What's up, DC Nation? Welcome back to another video on DC Future States, and today we're checking out Aquaman #2, written by Brandon Thomas and drawn by Daniel Sanfrey. Now, all you need to know from last issue is that Jackson Hyde, the new Aquaman, is held prisoner on Neptune because him and Andy Curry, Aqualass, were going through the Confluence, and a big incident happened where Andy got her leg ripped off and she fell into the water. She was lost. She was split from Jackson. Now Jackson's on his own, but he's a prisoner. He doesn't know what to do. But is Andy actually dead? And if she's not, how is she gonna save Jackson? Well, everything's gonna come full circle in this issue, and honestly, it's really awesome. I really enjoyed this issue. I think you guys will too. So yeah, if you guys are ready, let's dive into this issue. Andy Curry, aka Aqualass, lands on the shore of a beach, bleeding. One of her legs is completely torn off. She remembers everything that happened out in the ocean, in the Confluence. She was split away from Jackson and pushed into the water. She gets up in agony and sees glimmer fish coming toward her. Andy screams for help. The fish want to talk to Andy about their master, Jackson. Andy gets up crying, saying, No, Jackson, help me, please. The fish don't give their help to Andy. They're mad at Andy for putting Jackson in a bad situation. Andy responds to this saying, You have to help. This wasn't supposed to happen to us. It's not fair. You have to. I do not want to die. Andy cries in agony, saying, Help me! You have to help me! In this moment, Andy's communications powers gets in. She orders the fish to help. A blast of water comes toward Andy and latches onto her body. The water becomes Andy's new silver leg. She can stand up again. The fish tell Andy there'll be no more help. Andy violated Jackson's natural will and forced him to. Andy cuts the fishes off, saying, I only asked for help. I had no idea that would happen. I'll make everything right after I find my brother. I promise, okay? I promise. The fishes respond, We will not permit this. You will not survive here without our aid. Andy responds, Well, my brother is the Aquaman, and he taught me everything he knows. So I'm sorry, but I probably will. From here we see Andy remember all of her training. First she learned how to hunt. Jackson believed that they were to travel through the Confluence. They need to know how to stay alive on land. Andy in present day makes a bow and arrow and hunts for food. She is successful and she cooks her food at night, while the glimmer fish annoy her. The second lesson that Andy learned was de-escalation. Andy in present day remembers this and tries to de-escalate her conversation with the fish. The fish think she is a conductor. They think that she will control them soon and take over them. So they're kind of afraid of Andy and they do not want to trust her. Now Andy denies this and reminds the fish that what happened to Jackson was an accident. She did not do that. The fish tell Andy to rectify, release our brother back to us. Andy looks down at her legs and says, Not yet. After I find Aquaman, then I will. The fish shouts, You will rectify or we will free him from your corpse. Andy walks away saying, I'm sorry. I will when I'm finished. I still promise. Now the third thing that Jackson taught Andy was how to throw some hands. Andy uses these fighting skills to take out some frog pirates on the beach shore. They tried stealing Andy's stuff, but they didn't know that she got hands. Now the fourth thing Jackson taught Andy was perseverance. When controlling water, Andy needs to keep hold of herself and not give up. In the present day, Andy sees a big wave coming toward her. The fish tell her she has to leave to get to Jackson. If she doesn't control the wave, Andy tells the fish to shut up. Now, she catches the wave slightly, but then it all goes past her. Andy failed. She says, Fine, I'll go. Whatever. The fifth lesson that Jackson taught Andy was to retreat. Andy swims in the water on her journey to save Jackson in present day. The fish still think that Andy is an evil conductor. Andy tries to convince them that she's actually on their side. They could trust her. Now, the sixth lesson that Jackson taught Andy was to be patient. In this case, as Andy swims through the confluence from world to world in the ocean, she tries to keep her patience. Along the way, she falls asleep. She wakes up and is ready to get to work. She asks her glimmerfish leg, "Can you tell me why I keep shifting around from world to world?" The leg responds, "You travel through the confluence, a living nexus of worlds connected by the one great ocean, protected by the one great beast. The confluence is alive and a being of the water. You conduct water and the being within it into the shape and state that best suits you. The confluence takes you because unconsciously you want to be taken." Andy responds, "Then why won't it just take me to my brother?" The fish leg says, "Perhaps it is take you there in the way it knows best. It is not defined by your perception of lines, of distance, of time." Andy then arrives on Neptune and stands on water that shows her a view of the prison that Jackson is in. The prison is heavily fortified. Andy takes control of the water and fish. The fish attack the blasters of the prison and pave way for Andy to swim through. She needs to save Jackson now. Andy orders a huge whale to swallow up the guards. Jackson inside fights back against the guards. He says, "You want to stop me? You better go all the way." Jackson is then electrocuted to the ground by a guard that was behind him. The guards surround Jackson and continue to electrocute him. They tell Jackson that no one is coming to save him. That is when Andy crashes through the glass of the prison. Jackson looks up smiling. He says, "About damn time." Jackson looks at Andy and sees that she's grown up. He asks how long he's been there. Andy grits her teeth and looks to the Neptune guards. She says, "You had my brother locked away in this place for 6 years?" Andy remembers the 7th lesson that Jackson taught her: vengeance. Andy attacks the guards, saying, "I'll kill every last one of you." Andy beats the crap out of the guards and continues to punch them in anger. Jackson walks over and sees her in anger. She's about to kill the guards. Jackson says, "Listen to me. Andy, I know, alright? I can feel it too. I want that too, but not for you. That's not our way." Andy responds, "But they took everything from us, and they cannot get away with that. I won't let them." Andy blasts the guards back with water. You hear a whoosh. Jackson begins to fight back and reminds her the 8th lesson that he taught her: restraint. Jackson smacks the guards to the ground with a staff. You hear a pow, but the guard still lives. Andy looks up saying, "Fine, Aquaman, fine." Jackson responds, "Now let's get out of here." Andy and Jackson swim toward the horizon with the ocean's creatures at their side. They make it to the horizon, and Jackson calms down Andy. He tells her, "Let them go." Andy stops being focused and lets the ocean's creatures leave. Jackson then laughs, saying, "Huh, that was one save, partner. I gotta tell you that." Now he looks at Andy. She begins to cry. Jackson hugs her to comfort her. He says, "We are alive, we survived, and we will find our way back home." Jackson sheds a tear, saying, "We won't lose each other ever again." From here, both Jackson and Andy continue to hop to different worlds through the confluence. Eventually, they make it home, and Andy joins the new Justice League. And that is how we end FutureState's Aquaman. So that was FutureState Aquaman number 2, and guys, this issue was phenomenal. I actually really liked it. I really enjoyed it. The artwork by Daniel Sanfrey is amazing. He really captures the tone of the issue and how he draws facial expressions, like Andy crying, or Jackson shedding a tear, or Andy being in agony after her leg was torn off. Like, you can really see it in the characters' faces. Like, Daniel Sanfrey nails the artwork in this issue. The action, facial expressions, the settings, every single thing. There's also some images like throughout Andy's training. One in particular is like when she was taught patience. And there's one image where it's just silhouettes. And it shows Andy and Aquaman just standing and keeping their balance, right? Now it's a simple image, but how Daniel Sanfrey draws it is just so good. Like, I stared at that image for a while because how nice and clean it looks. So yeah, enough about the artwork. It's great, really amazing. Some of the best artwork I've seen from Daniel Sam for a while. But what about the writing by Brandon Thomas? Well, it's great too. Like, guys, how the story unfolds, I really like how Brandon Thomas showed like Andy's training, the 8 lessons that Jackson taught her. Jackson probably taught her more, but these 8 lessons are like the core lessons. And seeing her use that in present day to get back to her brother, to get back to her mentor, Jackson, was really cool. It was really well written. So yeah, guys, if you only read this issue once, I definitely recommend reading it a second time, maybe a third time. You can read this book multiple times and find something new. Now, at the end where you see Andy save Jackson, that was very epic, and then Andy like almost kill a guard, but Jackson pulls her back. It was a really great moment. And yes, the actually very last page, how this issue ends is kind of simple. Okay, they just go through the Confluence, and we know that she eventually, or Andy, eventually joins the Justice League. And you're probably like, I expected like a bigger ending. Me, I didn't. I just expect, okay, a simple ending. And that's what we got, and I'm fine with that. So yeah, overall, a really great issue. One of the best issues out of FutureState. Honestly, this FutureState Aquaman, this 2-issue series, was one of the best to come out of FutureState. If you did not read it, you're really missing out. So yeah, I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. I definitely recommend it, especially if you're an Aquaman fan. So you got Jackson Hyde and Andy Curry in this, and they're showcased very well. But yeah, guys, you tell me your thoughts on this issue down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? If you liked the video, give a big thumbs on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out on my next DC FutureState video. I'm going to try to get more out in the next few days. More today, actually, too, because DC Infinite Frontier is coming up, and we need to wrap up FutureState. So if you start seeing a lot of uploads of FutureState on the channel, just tune in, because I'm really trying to give you guys some amazing videos, and I need your help. All I need from you is to check out the video. That's it. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and peace out.